Yes, very surprisingly so, but yes, you actually do need to try Throne and Liberty. And as a fan of MMOs and someone who has historically not liked Eastern MMOs at all for the most part, Throne and Liberty very much surprised me, and by the end of this video, I'm hoping that if you guys haven't yet, you will at least be excited enough to give this game a try. And before we get into the video, we are almost at 300 subscribers. The support on the channel over the last week has been absolutely amazing. I'm very appreciative. If you guys like gaming news, if you like gaming reviews, and you are new to the channel and you do enjoy this video, please subscribe to the channel. I love you guys, and let's get into it. Now, this game is not perfect, and there are a lot of things that I do really enjoy about the game, which I will definitely get to. But before I do, I want to talk about some things that might be a deal breaker for anybody hopping in and wanting to play Throne and Liberty off the jump. And the first big thing here is the combat. The combat is still clunky, and although they completely reimagined the combat over the last year and completely changed from the ground up how the combat looked, how the combat felt, and you have an action combat and a tab target and can choose one of the two, there are a lot of good things about the combat as well. It still feels clunky, it still feels a little bit delayed at times, it still feels a little bit button spammy, although it does get much better as you get up to level 50 and as you get to the higher levels. But if you don't want to wait for that to see if it starts clicking with you, that is completely fine, and that makes complete sense to me, especially because of how important combat is to a gamer, especially to an MMO gamer. However, aside from this, there are also some good parts about the combat. One thing that I really love is the little parry or the counter or the defense mechanic, whatever they call it, where there's a little circle that goes on in a boss. It's like a purple circle, and once it gets to a point, you can do a block or you can do a parry of the boss. And this is a team mechanic. Everybody can do this on their own, and it really changes the dynamic of fights and keeps you engaged during boss fights or even when you're fighting normal enemies. Now, the next thing that they need to improve in this game, and I mean they really need to improve this in the game, is the grapple hook. This thing is so inconsistent, it blows my mind. It's like going and getting a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. You have no fucking clue what you're about to get. That's what it feels like when I'm trying to use the grapple hook. Sometimes it works beautifully, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it flings me higher, sometimes it just goes right to the edge. And this is a core functionality in boss fights. In legit boss fights, it's a core functionality, obviously with the exploration and with the main quests and the side quests as well, but it's so annoying when you're just spamming F, it just doesn't move, your character starts glitching around, then you don't see the grapple thing at all, and I'm like, this is like a core mechanic that they use in almost every part of the game that you're going to be using from start to finish a lot, and when it does not work, and that is a lot, I'd say about 50-50, it is so annoying. Especially when you're fighting and dying to a boss because you're not able to grapple hook in time or grapple hook on something because the button to grapple just magically stops appearing. Now, the last thing that I think could be changed about this game that I don't love, that I don't think a lot of people from what I've seen really love, and I promise I'm going to get to the good stuff in a second. There's more good than bad, I promise. But this is the morphing, and I do like the morphs into the otters. When you're going in the water, you morph into an otter, and I love that. I love morphing into the otter. This thing is cute as hell when it's little floating around. That's awesome. Other than that, you also morph into a bird when you're flying. You morph into like a furry animal or like a duck when you're running around on the main thing, and this is all to replace mounts. This is to replace water, land, and flying mounts, basically. And I don't love this at all. I really don't love it. I think it would be much cooler if we could just collect mounts. Like, I don't know why that's not a thing. They put so much time into creating the character creator for me to run around as a duck almost 100% of the time, or me to fly around as the same bird up until level like 45. I really don't understand. I really don't understand it. And I know it is core to the story. So the morphing is core to the story. So I think they wanted to kind of combine this with your character and the use of the star fragments and your special powers and being able to morph, etc. I just don't love it. I don't love it. Some people might love it, but I would much rather collect mounts than collect different morphs, to be honest. Now let's get the things that I do like about this game, because like I mentioned, this game does a lot of things, more things good then it does badly or that needs improved. And the first thing is the dungeons. You will be doing dungeons all the way from level 20 up to level 50, and this is your main source of getting gear to then go take into the main end game, which is the guild sieges and all of the guild content that is in the game, which there is a ton of. But the dungeons in this game, I thought were just going to be, you hop in the dungeon, you kill the boss, and you walk the hell out. But there's actual mechanics, not only for the main bosses, but also the mini bosses. And if you do not know these mechanics specifically for the main end boss of a dungeon, there will be wipes, there will be people leaving your party, and people will be pissed off. But I love this about the game because it feels like you actually do have to learn these dungeons, and you actually do have to learn these bosses and execute the mechanics in the right way to be able to beat the boss. But aside from this, a lot of the mechanics aren't full ass team mechanics. If you mess something up and you still have 3 or 4 players left in your party that are fighting the boss, if they execute the mechanics well, they could also beat the boss. It's not like something where if one person messes up, it screws up the entire run for everybody else. You die, it might be a little bit slower to kill the boss over the next few minutes, however, you can still complete it, and that is something I absolutely love about the dungeons and the bosses in Throne and Liberty. The next thing that I think is really cool in this game is the questing, and obviously it's an MMO where the end game is going to be the most important. So the questing 1 to 50 is something you're not going to experience more than one time with the main story for the most part. But the main story and the side quests have some really good content in them, in my opinion, for what we have seen in MMOs previously. The main story, although the chapters are very disjointed from each other, I would like to see some of these characters return more often, especially the ones that I did like and did enjoy. But some of these chapters are really cool. They have some really good cutscenes in there. There's a cutscene with like a giant dune worm that is fucking awesome in one of the later chapters. There's also an entire vampire slayer questline where it starts off where there's like a plague and you're discovering the plague, and the doctor is the main person who has started the entire plague in this little infirmary that he's working in. So you find that out. Then there's these vampires that kill Sophia, this girl that you're working with at the time, and then you have to go and investigate that, and you have to go and save her and kill these like vampire lords. It is awesome. There are some really cool quest lines and really cool chapters in this game. There are also some really boring ones and some that I just don't know why they added in the first place, but some of them are pretty damn cool. And aside from that, the side quests, they are literally trying to get you to do the different events in the game, trying to get you to try out all of these different world bosses in the game. And the world bosses are super awesome, and all of these are on a specific timer. Some you can only do in the morning, some you can only do at night. So it emphasizes how important the weather, the day and night system is in the game. And these aren't needed to obviously progress your character, but they do unlock some really cool things, some extra morphs, some things that increase the levels on your armor, increase the levels on your different skills, and also to unlock these things called guardians, which are an extra skill based on some of the different story points in the game that you can use to actually make your character even stronger, aside from some of the main skills that you already have with your weapons. And the next thing I do want to go into, kind of going off what I was just saying, was the weapons. The weapons and all the skills in the game, both active and passive, and all of your armor are all upgradable from green to blue all the way up to purple, and there's levels within each of those tiers. And as you're upgrading them, they do feel a lot more powerful and they do feel more beneficial to use. And honestly, I thought I would hate this. I thought this would be one of the parts of the game that was very pay to win. And although you can pay for some of these upgrade materials, that is true, it doesn't feel bad as a free-to-play player. I'm actually getting a lot of upgrades pretty consistently. I have a lot of stuff already up to purple by the time I hit level 50, and now that I'm level 50, I've already gotten a lot of upgrades within the purple tier as well. I am a higher combat level than all of the level 50 dungeons before I even got there, and I don't feel like I'm underpowered in any way. Now, going into PvP and in the guild sieges, there are people that are definitely stronger. I am pretty newly level 50. I've not been level 50 for a super long time at this point. However, I do feel like it is pretty good. There are so many different avenues of progression that I actually enjoy in the game. There's also like a weapon mastery system. I think the only big problem with this system as a whole is if you mess up, you're cooked. You are cooked. You need to be following a guide in this game for the build that you want to use, or you will literally waste all of your time. And I think they did that on purpose. I think they did that so you realize you waste your time, then you have to spend money to catch up where you actually want to be. So if you are playing this game and you are watching this video, make sure you are following a build. And if you don't like that, then don't play the game. I think that's completely understandable as well. A lot of people don't like Path of Exile for a very similar reason, because you can brick your character completely after playing the game for 10 to 15 hours and not even realizing it because of the difficulty spike. Now, this game doesn't have a crazy difficulty spike, but it's almost impossible to go back, change your weapon, change all of your abilities, because the abilities are tied to the weapons, and then still try to perform at the same level. You're going to have to do a lot of grinding and a lot of upgrading everything else around what the actual main thing that you're wanting to use is. Now, lastly is the PvP. The arena is really fun. The arena is basically kind of like the WoW arena, where it's more of like an instance closed PvP, like a battleground type of thing. And then you also have your guild sieges, and the guild sieges are the main end game. This is what people are building up their characters for. And although I myself have not participated in a ton of these different guild siege events, I have seen a lot going on. I have watched people participate in these events, and it's pretty awesome. It's really, really, really cool for the most part, and something that I'm very impressed by, and something that excites me for future games, specifically within the MMO genre, is they literally have hundreds of people on the screen and the game is still running well. Like, you're not lagging. You might get a little glitches here and there and have to turn down your graphics, but overall, for the most part, it runs very well. If there's 100 people fighting a world boss, if there's 100 people participating in these guild PvP sieges, it just still feels good. It's not lagging. It feels like there actually is 100 people there. You can see all 100 people, and you can still do what you want to do in these type of moments, in these type of environments. It's beautiful. It makes me so excited for games to have this many people on screen, all actually working towards something in future MMOs, which we have not seen. We have games like World of Warcraft right now, where you have more than 15 people on your screen, and the entire game feels like it's cooked. And the last thing, I mentioned this very briefly, but something that I think this game does well is the day and night and the weather cycles in this game. It is the coolest I've ever seen in any game that I've played. It actually has an effect on your abilities, how strong different abilities are. On some abilities, if you're wet, for example, you're going to heal more. So when it's raining, you can heal more. It's really cool. I like how that affects your class and your different abilities on your class. However, there are also like day and night cycles that affect different quests that you need to do. That affect dungeons, like some dungeons, the open world dungeons in this game, which I actually didn't mention earlier. The open world dungeons in this game, during the daytime, they are PvE, but at night, these are a conflict zone. So when you go in these open world dungeons, you actually have to fight against other players. It's fucking awesome. It's so damn cool. And on top of this, your guild can cause like an eclipse or cause heavy rain, where everybody gets extra stealth or everybody gets increased movement speed. And in these guild sieges, you can use that to trample another guild or trample all of your enemies. And it's very, very cool. It's very dynamic, and it's something I've never really seen in a game of this scale before. And on top of this, it's not just like it says, oh, there's an eclipse. The whole world looks different when this is happening, and you're like, what the hell is going on? You look up in the sky, you see a fucking eclipse, and then you see the little thing on the side of your screen, you hover over it, and it shows you the different skills that that guild is getting, what guild caused the eclipse, things like that. I think it is so cool, and again, something I haven't seen in a game of this scale before, be this effective in terms of actual PvE, actual PvP, actual skills that it's changing, etc. So that's pretty much all I really wanted to talk about today. I hope at this point of the video, some of you guys are excited to at least try out this MMO. There are a lot of good things, but obviously there are some things that are not so good as well, and if those not so good things are reasons why you don't want to try it, that is completely fair. But for everything else, or for everybody else, I hope you guys try this game. I hope you guys appreciate some of the good parts about this game. This is another year where we don't have a ton of MMOs coming out, but I know Ashes of Creation is in the pipeline. Maybe, who actually knows if this is in the pipeline or not, but the Alpha 2 I think is going on right now, so take a look at that game if you want another MMO to potentially test out and to potentially get excited for. And other than that, yeah, I love you guys. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you like the video. If you like the video, subscribe. We are so close to 300 subscribers, and comment down below if you guys have played Throne and Liberty, if you guys are interested in now trying Throne and Liberty, or basically if you have played the game, what you guys think about it. So yeah, I love you guys. See you in the next one. Peace.